What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Saturday night, everybody. If you're going out, please don't drink and drive. Enjoy your weekend. But I wanted to make another video today. It's February now. January has been kind of weird, huh? Very, very accelerated, everything on every walk of life and every topic. There's a lot of political turmoil, especially in North America right now. I hope that things work out okay for everybody, but that seems a little difficult right now. Today's interview that I did with Dr. Daniel Branco, I knew that this was potentially an interview that would take a little longer to catch on with people because always when you talk about either consciousness or spirituality or stuff like that, there's a lot of reticence to listen to what is said. But I would encourage you to go and check out that interview and see that we're not really talking about anything religious or ethereal or anything like that. It's really also science. And Dr. Branco also has a good point against the current scientific method and how it needs to be renewed constantly, not just like it's never been renewed, really. There needs to be a different methodology for the method to work, you know? There's new stuff that the scientific method currently is not able to explain or prove. So, and that doesn't mean that those things don't exist. They do. So I would encourage you to go there. But I wanted to make a video today of the Soul Foundation scheduled a Q&A with none other than Dr. Eric Davis. Yes, the same Dr. Eric Davis from the Wilson Davis memo. If you know what that is, it's arguably one of the most important documents that were released relatively recently about a meeting that took place between Admiral Wilson and Dr. Davis, where they talk openly about NHI and UFOs and aliens and all that stuff. And in that very exchange, Davis himself said that if this was mentioned ever, he would deny it. But Dr. Davis has said recently that this memo is in fact real and that meeting did in fact take place. So based on that, the clearances that Dr. Davis has had over the years are considerable. He's one of the people that has had one of the highest clearances and has seen the most out of this topic. So hearing him speak is always very interesting and important. And he did drop quite a few bombs. So the first one is about seeing President Eisenhower's orders to cover the UFO topic. Here's a clip.
There is something, it's a kind of emergency executive order called a presidential emergency action directive. Yes. And, we've had a number of people with intelligence community backgrounds who have argued or suggested that there are a number of these emergency action directives that have been written and then kept issued and then kept in secret that concern UAP and that have actually created something like a legal administrative framework for classified programs. So the question concerns, can you say anything about the source you have for that information or why you're confident about that? And can you shed some more light on that?
There's no source for this information. I have security clearances with the intelligence community and the Department of Defense, so I see these presidential emergency action directives within that community in a classified basis. So I already know their history. The Brennan Center has a web page that mentions the PEAD. The PEAD is what we'll call it here. So this isn't source information. It's not a rumor. It's not a myth. It's factual, classified information. Although the PEAD itself is not classified by name or its existence, because the Brennan Center has already written something up about it on its website. So I think the question switched in front of me, so I couldn't answer. So I can't remember what Can you switch that question back to the first one? Yeah, there we go. So then the second part is, how confident am I that the PEAD exists? Well, it's 100%, because Jim Semivan, who retired from the CIA back in 2017, 2016, 2015, or thereabouts. He knows all about the PEDs. And he has encountered those during the 30-plus year career that he had at the Central Intelligence Agency. And so the PEDs are well known. If you're in the intelligence community for a long time and you work up at high level, you'll see. I'm sorry, I just got flipped off my phone there. There we go. You'll see the PEDs come up in some sort of briefing environment.
Yeah. So that's what Dr. Davis claims that he saw, that document or that order from Eisenhower. And if that's real and it happened, well, that explains all of the secrecy over the last 80 years, I guess. Okay, so another bomb that was dropped was a plan that he and Dr. Hal Puthoff have to uncover a lot of this stuff about UAP through private enterprise, which is actually kind of a really good idea. And I think it's kind of happening right now with Skywatcher and other companies. The only issue I see here is if there's like a conflict of interest and these people involved don't immediately disclose what they're involved with and what their intentions are. And I think that there are a lot of issues there that are already being raised by me, by other people. I think that we need a lot more transparency there. But here's what Dr. Eric Davis said on the Soul Q&A.
It would need a single act of a complete sweeping declassification, get rid of the SAP stovepiping, and bring it all out in the open. And that's actually a plan that Hal Puthoff and I had with Bigelow Aerospace with one of the legacy crash retrieval programs to do that, was to bring it out of their storage and bring it to EarthTech. And then we at EarthTech would turn it around and contract with that same company to have the best of their materials and engineering scientists working on that material in an open environment where they would be allowed to publish scientific papers on their findings, on their discoveries in the open literature. And then we would reveal to the world after the fact, hey, see this published paper in Science and Nature? Well, guess what? That stuff that those papers were writing about, those discoveries that were made came from the recovery of unidentified aerial phenomenon technology from another world, or, off-world technology not made by humans. So I think also.
Yeah. The last major bomb that he dropped was when he was asked about Majestic 12 or MJ-12. And we've all had suspicions about this in the past. We've all really kind of known that this group is still very much active. I spoke to James Yandoli from Engaging the Phenomenon and asked him if he thought it was possible that members of MJ-12, some of them are not necessarily bad and they want UFO transparency. And he said, yes, that it's possible. So this opens up a new kind of reality to this, because if some members of MJ-12 are not necessarily evil or bad and they want UFO transparency, we could potentially think of people like, for example, James Clapper or Christopher Mellon as potential members of this version of MJ-12, which is not named that anymore. But yeah. But what Dr. Eric Davis said is that, yes, it has persisted until today. And yes, it has changed names over the years. Here's what Dr. Eric Davis said.
Yeah, that's right. MJ-12, some version of it exists today, but it's not by that name. Code names change roughly every 3 years in the defense and intelligence operations. So that code name has gone away decades ago. So there's some modern incarnation of it operating. They don't. That's not their work has nothing to do with the Collins Elite or disclosure. That's not what they do. Their job is handling crash retrievals, reverse engineering studies of NHI or alien technologies that have been recovered. So I'm not aware that there's any linkage there with the Collins Elite. I think more than anything, the Collins Elite, which, like I said, is not an organized group, but just one individual here, maybe a couple of individuals here. And these guys are high-ranking individuals. They could either be generals, colonels, or senior executive service 1, 2, or 3 folks, or senior intelligence service 1, 2, or 3 folks. I don't know if they go as high as 4. if there's any of them at that level, and they don't work at cross purposes, and they don't coordinate with MJ-12 because that's a compartmentalized program, and so that compartmentalized program is technically oriented, and the disclosure issue is not part of what that program is concerned about. That's a whole separate issue, and the government doesn't have a disclosure program anyway, and the Collins Elite type folks, they just get in the middle. If they get read into something and they get in the middle of it, they'll either walk away from it, leave it alone, or they'll try to do whatever they can to kind of trip it up a few times or a few ways and cause a little bit of trouble. But if you cause too much trouble inside of a classified program, you usually get kicked out by security very rapidly.
So that's pretty interesting, right? But the final bomb that was dropped, and I was really surprised to hear this, came from AI entrepreneur Jonathan Berte. And he was one of the two people that were invited to this Q&A. Dr. Peter Skafish was the one who conducted the questionnaire from the people. And when they asked them about psi phenomena and the investigation into psi phenomena and the history of psi phenomena, the name that he decided to drop was Dr. Jacobo Grinberg. And this is the first time that I hear any type of soul event mentioning Dr. Grinberg. Granted, Berte is not part of like the Soul Foundation group, but he is starting to collaborate with them. And I am really glad to see that Dr. Grinberg's name is already being mentioned in those circles now. I've been banging this drum for a while, and I'm really happy that it's finally there. I already contacted Berte. I contacted him through X, but I hope that I can get to talk to him on a more like close basis, because a lot of the work that I've been doing is work that I think could serve him well. And if he's asking for documentation and history about specifically Dr. Grinberg, I think I'm the one who can help him, because I've been compiling tons of stuff. And he talks about these archives of this archive system from Europe that is similar to the archives of the impossible at Rice University, where Dr. Jeffrey Kripal has been compiling all of the information about psi phenomena and other type of phenomena, studies, film, all types, books, biographies, all types. And I am going to try and propose to include Dr. Jacobo Grinberg's work in the archives of the impossible. Wish me luck. I am going to try. Just so you guys know, on February 9th, I'm going to speak to Dr. Jeffrey Kripal on the show. And we are going to talk about all of this. And he's the perfect person to talk about psi phenomena, psi abilities, superhumans, all that stuff that is currently being talked about. He is the man to talk about this. And I consider him at the same level of Dr. Jacques Vallée and Dr. Hal Puthoff, but he's on a different branch of this. So I am really, really excited, and you should be too, because talking to him is a big deal. So I want to thank Jonathan Berte for mentioning Grinberg and for saying what needed to be said about his work. There's a lot that we still need to dig about Dr. Grinberg, and I am more than open to collaborating with not just him, but people at the Soul Foundation that perhaps don't know much about Dr. Grinberg, but you guys need to respond to my messages. But yeah, I was really pleased by this presentation. I was obviously really pleased of all the bombs that were dropped about from Dr. Eric Davis. And obviously, I am really, really happy that finally Dr. Grinberg has been mentioned in these contexts. So yeah, let me know what you think about what was mentioned by Berte right here.
Could AI be trained to recognize patterns in psi-related data, for example, remote viewing, biophotons, coherence, and refine predictive models for UAP interactions? So thank you for your question, Phillips.
Sure. It's, of course, a thorny field because it's, consensus reality and the scientific community wants to have hard lab almost setups to do their experiments. So we're working with a lot of data, and one of the earliest data on psi data was the PSRA, which is being managed now by the Archive of the Unknown, I think, in Sweden, somewhere in Stockholm. And this community of government people, psi-enabled people, and normal civilians was already active in the 40s and working with very similar stuff that later became remote viewing and that kind of psi activities. And if you apply AI to those extremely large troves of literature, you come up with very similar patterns that are already there since decades. And of course, some of these patterns have been infused by misinformation. So there again, I'm relating it to information entropy. There are specific patterns which some stakeholders are using to collude facts with fiction. As we know, a very well-known technique in counterintelligence. And it's also in this field that we apply these patterns, or we apply these techniques better to make sure that we come up with some hard facts about psi phenomena. But also there, it's very tricky because everybody is talking about UAP and misinformation relating the former UFOs. But there is also a lot of mystery around psi phenomenon and the national security state. Scientists like Jacobo Grinberg that suddenly vanish, and a decade later we get like declassified papers about mind-to-mind communication. So there is a lot there too. There is a lot to investigate there too, and we're very happy to work with volunteers and with other specialists, people that have good access to those libraries, to OCR them, to transform them into the right informational vector databases that then can be used to come up with claim-based knowledge graphs where we can attribute trustworthiness factors to claims.
And let me know what you think about the bombs that were dropped by Dr. Eric Davis. He dropped a bunch more, but those are like the most important that I think that need to be addressed and discussed. He also talked about Arrow and how he was involved a little bit with them and how he briefed them. And it would be nice to see proof of that exchange. That'd be really cool. But let me know. What do you think about this Q&A overall? I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can check it out. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can get notified when a new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. Take your pick. We have a members channel as well. So thank you for the support if you choose to support us there. We are also on the KGRA radio feed, so you can check it out there. There's also a link there. And that's it for me today. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Remember, stay curious. Bye.